for people just to begin to chant, it takes some type of courage just to try something new. You know, it touches the heart. These names that we sing are so powerful to clean out our hearts, to help us find some clarity, to help us remember who we really are. And we can live a life that feels purposeful and meaningful.
Before we jump into this episode, I'd love to invite you to join this candid spiritual community to hear more conversations that will help you become happier, healthier, and more healed. All I want you to do is click on that subscribe button because I love your support. I love seeing all the comments pouring through, all the love pouring through, and we're just getting started. I can't wait to go on this journey with you, whether you're a spiritual seeker or you're just curious about the topic. And we really hope that our conversations will provide you food for thought and inspiration for your own spiritual journey. So join us for honest, candid discussions about spirituality for soul's sake. Hello and welcome to a special edition of For Soul's Sake, the podcast in which we aim to give you candid conversation, real, authentic discussion on spirituality, on wellness, on holistic goodness. And today we are out in the desert in Yucca Valley, and I am with the one, the only, Govind Das, a celebrity in his own right, his own respect here in LA. He's been sharing Kirtan so beautifully, so consistently, with such nice, heartfelt emotion, that I think he's built probably the best community in America, the best Bhakti community that I know in America. And so I'm deeply impressed and deeply valuing your time. Thank you so much for being here. It's a great honor and privilege to be sitting so close to you.
My brother, thank you. We connected in during the pandemic, right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Right.
And I immediately felt this connection to you. Immediately. Like, it's so interesting how across the world, across the globe, through the internet, you can still feel this heart connection. So we stayed in touch and following each other, and I've just been, so happy to see your success and expansion.
Thank you.
Fame grow throughout the world. It's some people you don't feel so, but genuinely I felt so happy to see someone so pure in the heart and so dedicated to Bhakti and Kirtan, Guru.
Oh, brother.
To see your expansion.
I mean, I'm without sounding like it's humility ping pong here, but without getting into that, I genuinely feel like I'm standing on your shoulders, on the shoulders of your predecessors, and I'm just trying to add my little contribution in between. So I think there's a lot of love in the air today. So thank you so much. I want to get stuck in Kirtan in the Western audience scene. Sharing mantra, sharing Kirtan is something that I've known you for. I know that you are definitely an accomplished yoga teacher as well. But sharing mantra in a landscape like this, tell me about that journey, because I can imagine you started, in the 90s with sharing Kirtan here in LA. And I can't imagine that would have been easy, like Indian karaoke here in LA. I would have thought.
Interesting. I started around 1997, 1998, bringing my harmonium into my yoga class. I have all of these vivid memories of we would open up with maybe a Sitaram chant or a Maha Mantra, and within 2 minutes, I'd see all these people rolling their mats up and literally walking out.
Can you imagine?
And, and what I kept hearing, what people would say is, this isn't yoga. Why are we doing this? Cut to now 25 years later, and the popularity has just spread like wildfire. I think with, so many people like Krishna Das and Jayutal and Bhagavan Das and so many others. Massive, spread of yoga, popularization of yoga and higher consciousness and spirituality. Kirtan has rolled with that. Now, as we're just at this festival where Kirtan, Bhakti Fest, where Kirtan is one of the central aspects of the festival, and people love Kirtan. And I feel like even more so after the pandemic, people are really feeling a deep call to the mantra and the practice of coming together, with others and experiencing that sense of unity that comes with singing together and singing to God. So not singing as a performance, but truly singing as a prayer.
Must have been hard though. They're rolling up their mats. I can just imagine it. How do you go from people rolling up their mats and walking away to going, no, this is a full-on thing, and the community's just exploded since?
Well, for me, you say it must have been hard, but honestly, I felt so much love for this practice, and it touched me so deeply that it didn't even matter. I just knew that this is what I am supposed to be doing, and I knew that this is how I wanted to spend this incarnation. And here I am 25 plus years later, and even feels it more so, as I imagine, just like yourself as well too. It just seems to be growing and growing.
I mean, that's kind of been a phenomenon that still to this day, no matter how many kirtans I share, I'm still shocked that people know the name of God in the native language of Sanskrit. That still shocks me. Like I was looking around today, I did a set today at Bhakti Fest, and I just saw that there were no banners, there was no screen showing the mantras, but the whole audience was chanting with me. And I was thinking, this is a legacy that I'm really proud to be a part of, that I stand on the shoulders of so many that have put in the time to explain and share in such an accessible way that, I'm deeply, deeply grateful and appreciative of all the work that yourself and all of your predecessors have done to help me to stand on your shoulders. Having a family in a spiritual environment, I have a family, and I want to know how it's been for you sharing so much whilst also trying to care and nourish and grow a family.
Interesting. My kids came to my son, who's now 13, came to the very first Bhakti Fest at 2009.
Wow.
And he's been to every single Bhakti Fest. Some that were even 2 and 3 times a year. Up Bhakti Fest Midwest, Shakti Fest, which is in the springtime.
Wow.
And now he's 13.
Is he here?
And he says, I don't want to come this year.
Wow. This is the first one he's not been?
First one he's missed.
Oh, wow.
And, he's a teenager, and I trust it. And I think that's part of his individuation and autonomy of knowing who he is. But I do trust, they have been getting the mantras since they've been in my wife's belly. And, dear friend and very well-known yoga teacher, Mark Whitwell, he said to us when we first started our family, he says, you don't ever have to make your kids do any stuff. They just let them see and let them observe and let them watch, and they'll come to it in their own time. So that's the path that we've chosen. I mean, they're around it. They see me doing my puja every single morning. They see me online teaching the harmonium or Hanuman Chalisa. They've been in, honestly, I could say thousands of kirtans and yoga classes. And so they've just grown up with it, so they don't know so much different than it. But what's really interesting is that they have so many friends and their friends' parents that have really no idea what this stuff is. And a kind of a funny story, when my son, we've brought them up both vegetarian, and they
like their choice?
They love the choice. They don't know anything different, but they've, and pretty much 100% organic as well too. And so when my son first started having play dates, the mother would offer, snacks to the kids as they do. And the first thing my son would say, is this organic?
Wow. This is before it was fashionable and before it was cool.
Right. And the parents would almost become shocked and almost like ashamed. Like, how is this kid, or maybe even a little angry? Well, how is this kid asking me if it's organic? So it's been a great journey. As you know, there's nothing like having kids. And I would really love to bring my kids to India. Near future, just
been before?
They have never been. We had planned the year of the pandemic, and that was one and all, so we had to pull that back. But hopefully in the future, because I would love to see where it comes from. I grew up Jewish. My parents are Jewish. My wife grew up Christian background on that side. But then they have all of this from us and the Indian culture and Eastern mysticism and meditation. And just for them to go to India to really just to see where it comes from. And, yoga is so popular now in the West. We teach yoga to the kids at school since my son has been in kindergarten, and now my daughter who's in third grade, constantly teaching. But it's so popular now. And sometimes we'll ask the kids, every year there's this International Kids Yoga Day. We teach like 600 kids at the whole school at one time. And we say, how many of y'all have done yoga before? And honestly, 99% of the kids, their hands raised. When I was a kid, if they would have asked that, zero. Absolutely zero. And whether they like it or they don't like it, it doesn't matter. I think that they're just getting the language of mindfulness, the language of self-care, the language of being present, and the language of yoga. So it's really, I think, a lot has transformed in this world since.
Will it upset you? If they decide otherwise? Like, say, for example, I touch wood. But
Not touch wood.
If they do come around and say, I think that I want to eat meat, I think this is all woo-woo, and I want to live a corporate lifestyle, and it's almost like they do the 180, will that hurt you? All honesty?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, how old are your kids?
I've got little ones. I've got a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old.
So as they get older.
I should be taking notes, right?
Yeah, as they get older, for me,
yeah,
it's like every day they break your heart somehow, some way.
Don't say that.
I know. And they start pushing you away further, and the things that you shared that were so special don't mean anything to them anymore. And it's so beautiful, so painful at the same time. Sometimes I'll be with my family and we're all so close. We live in a small house, and yet sometimes I feel so lonely amidst my family because hearts just, need to go in their own direction. I think it's just part of being a parent and letting go, really letting go and allowing our kids to find their way through life. But it's extremely painful at times when your kids don't want to kiss them before they go to school anymore.
Don't say that.
Or now my daughter's 8 and we're walking up the hill to school and she holding hands. Just as we get into that atmosphere of school, she kind of pushes my hand away. So, and then they start thinking like, you don't know anything. We've given everything to them, and they start to have that feeling like you just don't understand anything.
It's like the karma of being a parent, no? I mean, someone told me that your kids are your best friends until the age of 5. And then as soon as they hit 5 or 6, then they start thinking, yeah, I want to live a life independent. And instilling spiritual values upon children is no joke. Do you see Kirtan being a household word, a name?
People have been asking me this for years.
Really?
And my honest feeling is that I think people are too locked into their own religion for it to be everywhere, in everything. We have to remember that it's still a Hindu practice where we're chanting these mantras that come from very far away traditions. So for people just to begin to chant, it takes some type of courage just to try something new. And there are a lot of people that are willing to do that, especially here, in California, with very open minds. But
definitely,
there's a lot of the world that is just locked into a way of thinking that doesn't allow them to expand beyond what they see and they know to be true. So, but I do see a great sense of growth for this practice because it's like nothing else. It touches the heart. These names that we sing are so powerful to clean out our hearts, to help us find some clarity, to help us remember who we really are, to help us, as I love to quote you all the time, the God-shaped hole in our heart. We walk around in life like we feel like something's missing. And what is that? What is missing? It's that connection to ourself, the connection to our source. And as we start to chant and sing and practice bhakti and practice love for God, that God-shaped hole starts to fill in and fill up, and we start to feel happy and feel joyful, and we can live a life that feels purposeful and meaningful, and in that spirit of love and devotion and friendship, self-care and goodness. And we have so many more tools, I feel, than previous generations, my parents' generation, that we have these practices that are real and that they work, and that's why they've been around.
Controversial one. What's a doubt for you right now? Is there a doubt for you right now?
I drank the Kool-Aid. I'm in.
You're all in.
And I'm all in. There's no doubt about it. How about for you?
Is there any doubt in my mind? I like that saying, I drank the Kool-Aid. I'm definitely someone that's, 99.9% there. I think that for me, it's a case of, can I see beyond institution? Can I see beyond the rules and regulations and be accepting of those that rub me up the wrong way whilst also, quote unquote, being a bhakti practitioner? You're always like, my guru once told me, he said, in a bowl of fruit, there's always going to be one that's not ripe. It's like maybe an apple that's not quite there yet. And so in that respect, you have to kind of just tolerate and accept that not everyone's on the same wavelength as the ideal, And so I guess that's not a hang-up of mine, but it's definitely something where I have to just go beyond the cynicism that not everyone's going to be perfect, and everyone is perfect by not being perfect. That progress is still perfection.
Yes. The perfection of imperfection. This is so important. And I agree with you. I mean, what the teachings have given us, this great ideal of what this practice can offer to us. Am I there? Absolutely not.
Same.
My buttons get pushed like crazy, especially living with family. The way our kids know how to push our buttons, or our wife knows how to push our buttons, and we react with all of these intense emotions, which is a great thing because we get to see where we are on the path, right? That we're not there yet the way these great beings, saints, sadhus, gurus that have walked the path and dedicated their life to these practices,
right.
We're householders.
Right.
So, but I do have faith and I do have trust that this
So purifying
can take us where we want to go.
I mean, even I'm talking to now the guys sitting behind the cameras. They were just now at the set and they were filming my set at Bhakti Fest. And Catherine, who's behind the camera, she's like, that was really cool. I was like, oh, that was like a 5 out of 10 kirtan, It's like, that was really good. And I was thinking, wow, it really does touch the hearts of anyone. It's not a practice that's just for people of the brown skin, but of anyone that's willing to just open your ears and open the heart and see what is that connection drawing, where am I being drawn towards in that music, that mantra. So yeah, even though I know that the practitioners of all traditions aren't perfect, it's being able to see beyond that, seeing beyond the imperfections, because ultimately we're here having a human experience. Even though we are spiritual beings in our essence, we're having a human experience, a material experience. So that's been quite a trip.
There's this very famous saying from my guru Neem Karoli Baba, Ram Nam Karani Se Sab Jate. It says
everything becomes complete.
Right. In repeating Ram's name and chanting Ram's name, everything is achieved, everything is accomplished. Or in chanting the name Ram, the impossible becomes possible. What can't be done can be done. This is how Hanuman jumped across the ocean. And we too can take those leaps of faith in our life. We too can move mountains in our life. And those are, to have faith in these types of words, these are big, lofty
boulders.
Yeah. to have faith in, but I don't know what it is, but I do have faith in these names. And I think it's because I have faith in my teachers and the endless stream of bhaktas that have walked the path that have all said the same thing.
if there was one thing that you could change about your practice today, what would it be? What's the next step look like for you? Like, if we're all, I'm agreeing also, I'm definitely not the perfect article, got work to do. But what's the next step for you? What do you feel is like your next leap, so to say?
I have, since Facebook came out, a big resistance to online social media, filming.
I'm glad you're here.
No, all of this.
Yeah, it's different
type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to understand the beauty of it, that this is the medium that we can use to touch hearts and share these practices. So through the pandemic, that, helped me to digest it a little bit more and become more accepting.
I'm so glad, otherwise we wouldn't have connected.
And honestly, you've been such an inspiration in that. Just watching in the last 6 months, the videos from the church cathedral Kirtan, they have, the hairs on my arms have stood up from watching these YouTube videos, especially the Radha Govinda, something about that.
The name.
And that it's being transmitted through this. So I found a tremendous amount of joy and love and refuge in just even that specific video.
Thank you.
So I'm starting to get it and say, okay, it's okay to use this vehicle and really let it out.
Yeah, it really struck home for me recently in the last year and a half, 2 years, when I read this quote by Martin Luther King, and he said that those who love war, let me get this right. Those who love peace need to learn how to organize themselves as effectively and as efficiently as those who love war. Right? Those who love peace need to learn how to be more effective, more efficient, more organized in their propaganda. If those who love war are shouting about in every opportunity they get, like make money, Andrew Tate's all about, this school of thought, and this so-called material guru is talking about how to make money in 10 days. They're shouting about it in all these reels on Instagram. And why can't we be a little bit more organized and efficient and, have our word out there in such a beautiful way, not just like in a way where, you spend a couple of bucks just to put it on a phone. Let's get it done in such a way that even if it costs us money to do it, those who love peace need to be more organized in that way. And so that was a big inspiration to try and think, okay, how am I going to get this message out in a way that more people can appreciate it than the ones that are just sitting in the room? And so, yeah, fine, I'll get the flack for it. I'll get the critique. People will say, oh, you're just out to get name and fame. And that definitely hurt.
And I know that's not why you're doing this.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so happy to see your expansion. And going back to this organizational type of thing, I am not good at organization. I'm a Pisces, and I just trust God. Everything will just unfold exactly as it should. There's a quote Ram Dass used to say, he would call us sloppy bhaktis.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So, but that's why we need to have allegiance with maybe people that are really good at organization. And we have some wonderful sisters that are working with us now, helping me and my wife with this kind of stuff.
You're throwing my hands up in the air. I was late for this podcast. Like, I was a serious 20 minutes late, and it broke my heart when I got here and Govind Das was already waiting. He was like, "You're late." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. The Londoners are not late. Like, this is not my thing."
And the Californians are always late.
I'm like, how is this happening? Like, why is this happening to me here and now? And so, yeah.
And I'm always late. That's what's so funny.
Anyway, full transparency, I'm not the perfect article. I'm working it out, okay? So if you quote me on this efficiency thing and then you find I'm late to something, do not kill me. I'm working on it. I'm trying.
And then that means we start to have more, and this is like, we go through these things together. This is the Leela, right? That's part of the Leela, that we go through these tough things together, but in that, it gives us an opportunity to forgive each other. And it gives us an opportunity to say, I'm sorry to each other. And then it gives us an opportunity to meet again after we've gone through a little tension, to meet together in love.
In love.
Again. And like all of these things are happening over and over and over. Neem Karoli Baba says, do what you do, but never kick anybody out of your heart. So you go through these things with people. You go through, people, however it looks, but you keep each other. And we worked it out, and here we are, and so grateful.
Thank you. Never kick people out of your heart. If someone's having a tough moment in a relationship at the moment, what's the spiritual perspective or the Bhakti perspective? I know you said it in that one line, but maybe you can elaborate on it. Never kick people out of your heart. Because I'm sure, like listeners, viewers, I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, have a relationship which you wish was a bit better. And we have a lot of self-help books out there. But what's the Bhakti perspective? How do we view each other? How do we mend relationships and love each other with more authenticity according to the spiritual practice?
For me, there's one word. It's just compassion. That we have to understand that nobody's perfect. Nobody's, my feeling, really trying to do things to harm each other. It may be our own ignorance that, we don't act completely in alignment or with love, or we're late, or whatever it may be. So we need to find that compassion within our own hearts to recognize none of us are perfect, including ourselves. Because I've been late a million times. I've said things to hurt people a million times. So we have to be compassionate with each other and be compassionate with ourselves. That great quote from Jack Kornfield. Jack Kornfield,
No.
Great meditation, Buddhist meditation teacher. He says, if we don't have compassion for ourselves, then it's not real compassion.
There's one message that you could look into the camera and give the people that are observing and being witness to this moment here and now. If there's one message that you wish that other people could hear and imbibe, what would it be?
The message is love. This is the message: to live from your heart, to live from love, to practice loving everyone. Ram Dass, he says, if we try to live from up here and live from our egos, we can't love. We judge everyone. That's what our ego does. We're critical of everyone. But as we learn to take this leap of faith into our hearts, into our soul, into the eternal aspect of ourselves, from that place, we can begin to love each other. We may not agree with people's actions, but we can still love each other at the depths of who they truly are. So I try my best to live by these words. I'm very unsuccessful at times, but at least we have a direction. Krishna Das, he said once, I heard him say that Bhakti gives us direction. Otherwise, we're just walking around, and especially in this world where there's so much stimuli, we're just, stumbling on ourselves. And we do our best to take one step forward each day and live from that place.
Thank you so much for sharing this moment with me. Thank you so much for being here. And that was like a super short podcast because you have to jump out and get another set done. But this is the life we live, We just take the chances in the moments that we get, the small moments, we make them count as best we can. And I'm deeply grateful for you. And sincerely wishing all the best, everything that's happening in Bhakti Yoga Shala, all the projects and kirtans and sharings and teachings. I just want to be part of everything you're doing because it really lights my life up in such a beautiful way to see that in a place like this, in the middle of a desert, seriously, we're in the middle of a desert, people are chanting the name of God and in a beautiful way. And in no small part, thanks to people like Govind Das. And so I'm deeply grateful for this moment. Thank you.
If you love this episode, you'll love my interview with Keshava Swami on serving others and how our life gets ironed out in the process. Go check it out.
When I have managed to find that selflessness, that sense of it's really not about me, but I'm really here as a servant to give, then I found two things happen. The first thing is that our ability to actually really serve others just expands exponentially.